Good afternoon on this crisp fall day, Musketeers. It's October 30th, 2015. I'm Hannah Michaels.
And I'm Tara Jabor. This is Xavier News.
From the Xavier University Television Studio, this is Xavier News. Your campus, your region, your world. This is Xavier News.
A viral video captured a South Carolina police officer violently arresting a Spring Valley High School student on Tuesday in a classroom at the school. In the video, Richland County Sheriff's Deputy Ben Fields stood over the student seated at her desk and proceeded to grab and throw her across the floor. The officer claims the action resulted from her resisting arrest and refusing to leave the classroom. The incident caused an uproar on social media as people took to Twitter to have their say in the conversation, using the hashtag #AssaultAtSpringValleyHigh. Curtis Lavarello, head of the School Safety Advocacy Council, commented, quote, "We saw a pretty routine discipline issue become a criminal issue in just a matter of minutes. It escalated needlessly," end quote. Victoria Middleton, head of South Carolina's American Civil Liberties Union chapter, said, quote, "I can't imagine any justification for treating a child like that in a classroom. Whatever led up to it, whatever rationale may be presented, does not justify the force with which that student was treated," end quote. Defenders of the officer criticized the incomplete video, arguing that it is lacking footage of the entire incident and what led up to the violent act. Fields has twice been sued prior to the incident and is now suspended without pay. The FBI will be leading a criminal investigation.
South African University students protested schools last week for proposing a possible 11.5% increase in tuition rates. The protest has been trending on social media with the hashtag #FeesMustFall. After the widespread voice of student activism reached the union buildings or the seat of the South African government, President Jacob Zuma announced that there will be no increase in tuition rates over the next year. However, the protest is not over. The protest may have been about the increase in tuition, but organizers say that the protests are also concerned with addressing equality in South Africa. Basani Beloy and Gilead Isaacs of CNN wrote, quote, "The students' demands have been deeper than this. They are calling for decolonization and a transformation of higher education," end quote. Today, we have 3 reports from Xavier's political reporting course between PPP and film and television students. Here's our first report on the municipal judge elections.
Hello, Xavier students. This November 3rd is Election Day. While there are no major presidential or city council elections, there is a municipal court race within the 4th District. This may seem unimpressive, but these are the judges that a majority of the people come into contact with because they hear cases affecting the local community.
The candidates running are incumbent Josh Berkowitz and attorney Bob Kelly. But what does a municipal court judge do? Municipal court judges hear civil cases concerning $15,000 or less, such as traffic offenses and misdemeanor criminal cases. They also enforce local building, housing, health, and safety codes.
To better understand the dynamic of municipal courts, we talked to Xavier University Chief of Police Joseph Mielek about the importance of judicial races.
Well, this election is critically important just by the sheer number of people that municipal court judges come in contact with. I've heard that the figures range around 22,000 people come before Hamilton County municipal court judges. That's roughly a little bit more than 2 million people.
So it is important that constituents of the 4th District choose a judge that will positively affect the community and be a strong leader.
That's all for today. I'm Helen Moore, signing off, and don't forget to vote on November 3rd.
Southern Asia suffered an earthquake Monday, with more than 300 reported deaths so far and many more injured. The 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck near the city of Jarm, 40 miles west of the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The earthquake shook as far as 500 miles from the epicenter. Aftershocks are expected to cause even more fatalities. While trying to escape their school building during the quake, 12 Afghan girls were killed in a stampede. CNN producer in Kabul, Masood Papalzai, said, quote, "In 30 years of my life, it was the worst I experienced myself," end quote. Just 10 years ago, the same region experienced a similar severe earthquake, resulting in about 70,000 casualties. Attempts for rescue are slowed due to difficulties in communication and mountainous terrain. Most of the villages that suffered the majority of the damage are not easily accessible, which is further delaying rescue efforts.
The Obama administration released a new plan last week to handle the nation's standardized testing. According to The New Yorker, the new plan will provide guidance and funding to local authorities to reduce testing to only 2% of instructional time. The plan reveals that they have acknowledged the unnecessary testing issue and says, quote, "The administration bears some of the responsibility for this, and we are committed to being a part of the solution," end quote. In 2010, the administration integrated the Common Core Standards, a system that relies heavily upon standardized testing, as a method to have a national curriculum across schools nationwide. The Common Core received a lot of criticism from teachers across the nation because it required too much emphasis on standardized testing and limitations in the classroom. The new plan will need to be approved by Congress. In addition to various individuals running for office, several issues will appear on the ballot next Tuesday. Xavier News' Wilkie Cooper brings us the story on Issue 3, or the legalization of marijuana in Ohio.
On Election Day, Ohioans will be lining up at the polls to vote on this year's issues and candidates. One of this year's headlining issues is Issue 3, the legalization of marijuana in Ohio. Supporters and opponents of Issue 3 mostly agree on the benefits of legalizing marijuana.
Well, our criminal justice system is overwhelmed. The public defenders have an inordinate amount of cases that deal with drugs. I do think we have a failed war on drugs, and I think that marijuana is a piece of that.
A lot of people get in trouble for it, and I don't think it's a big deal.
When you combine all the money that we spend trying to eliminate marijuana without any success with the fact that we put extra burdens and disproportionate burdens on the African American community, it's something that I just can't live with. And I think it doesn't make sense for Ohio to continue a minute longer.
However, opinions differ on the issue's methods for legalization.
We should not be amending our Constitution lightly. The Constitution is a sacred pact between the state and the citizen, and we shouldn't be putting a business model, an anti-competitive business model at that, into our Ohio Constitution. It prevents the general legislature from having any impact on modifying it or changing it, and it provides an income stream to a group of 10 investors that really can't be touched.
College-age voters are a pivotal demographic on this issue, with a majority being in favor of legalizing marijuana. However, not a lot is known about the details of Issue 3.
I don't know a lot. I know that it will legalize marijuana in Ohio, I believe.
I've seen the commercials, and the commercials, when the commercial's done, I'm still not sure what I'm supposed to do, so I think it's very difficult from that point of view.
Voters will also have to decide on Issue 2, which would affect the passing of Issue 3.
It's essentially preventing any business interest from creating a cartel, a monopoly, an oligopoly, an anti-competitive business model, and using a ballot initiative to put that on the ballot and enshrine it in the Ohio Constitution.
Opponents of Issue 3 would prefer to wait until 2016 for another ballot measure. However, supporters closely associated to the amendment believe that now is the time to act.
I hear what they are saying, but this has been a problem in the marijuana movement for a long time, is that there are people who want it to happen, but don't have the political wherewithal to make it happen. They say that money is the mother's milk of politics. It's really true. If you don't have a well-funded campaign, you're going nowhere. Abraham Lincoln could not win right now unless he had a well-funded campaign. That's the reality of politics. So the reality that we brought to this is we were a pre-funded campaign. We had enough to put our ads up, which we've done, and there's just no grassroots group next year, the year after, or for 10 years out that's going to be able to match up against the powers that be in Columbus who don't want this to happen.
On November 3rd, Ohio citizens will have to weigh out the pros and cons of Issue 3. Reporting for Xavier News, I'm Wilkie Cooper.
14 million viewers tuned in on Wednesday to CNBC for the third Republican debate. Donald Trump no longer holds a clear lead in the race, with Ben Carson's rising poll numbers pulling him nearly even with Trump. Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio made attempts to toughen up in the debates and stand out to catch up with the leaders, with their numbers falling far below Trump and Carson's. Carly Fiorina has fallen behind in polls, but did not let it show during the debate. The next Republican debate will be held November 10th, with the main debate being held at 9 p.m. and the secondary being held at 6 p.m. and will be hosted by Fox Business and the Wall Street Journal.
Students voted last Wednesday to elect Caleb Mickler, Michael Quigley, and Kiana Salazar as the Student Government Association's executive team for next year. The team ran unopposed but still needed at least 50% of the votes to become the official ticket. 378 votes were cast, making up about 8% of the student body. The CQK platform covers a wide variety of improvements around campus. According to Vice President-elect Michael Quigley, the team seeks to catalyze student government's presence on campus by increasing productivity amongst the SGA Senate, actively engaging SGA representatives with clubs, increasing election participation, and attaining more student feedback. CQK also seeks to bridge gaps between the Xavier community and the surrounding communities of Norwood, Evanston, and Avondale, in the spirit of the Jesuit tradition of solidarity and kinship. Quigley said he is most excited to work closely with administrators and make SGA more present on campus by engaging other students and working with various clubs at Xavier. That's all from the Xavier News Desk. Stay with us for Cameron Stansberry with the Xavier Sports Report. But first, here's Megan Gosti on site at the Wasson Way Trail speaking on behalf of the Charter Amendment 22.
Hey Cincinnati, I'm here at the Wasson Way Trail, just one of the 16 planned projects Issue 22, the Cincinnati Parks Levy, has proposed if it's passed on November 3rd.
If passed, Issue 22 will pay for capital improvement and maintenance for parks all over the Cincinnati area, such as safer playground equipment, the creation of nature trails, and bike paths. So, Issue 22 will require a lot of community input before construction would begin on the 16 planned projects proposed by Charter Amendment 22.
Issue 22 is one of the most controversial issues on the ballot this November. There are two organized campaigns since the announcement of Issue 22. Yes on 22, protect our parks, and no on 22, save our parks. So let's listen in on an interview with Jared Carbon, who presents some of the arguments made by the opposition.
I feel as if the levy is not necessarily going to benefit all of Cincinnati through the park system because it is going to commodify the parks, make them more commercial, which is not what the parks need. They need genuine maintenance and care, and bringing in more money is not exactly what they need at this time.
The Yes on 22 campaign argues that Issue 22 will make our parks safer and stronger. So let's hear from Joshua Hart, a spokesperson for the Yes on 22 campaign.
Cincinnati is not the first city that has enacted a permanent charter amendment. And even within the city of Cincinnati, we have a permanent sort of charter amendment for the Smale Riverfront Park. We also have a permanent thing for schools. And yes, there are different areas that you have to renew as a levy, but this is not abnormal for us or any city in the state to do something to amend their charter, because the city council cannot enact a tax on themselves.
Many voters are still undecided about whether Issue 22 will really benefit Cincinnati and its parks. So let's tune in to Gil Guthrie, who has a neutral stance on the issue.
I'm still neutral on Issue 22 because it is a major concern to know where the funding is going, and we still need some sort of guarantee that there's going to be transparency with these funds. If the issue passes, however, we know that Cincinnati parks will continue to become more beautiful and more accessible to the citizens. However, if it doesn't pass, there isn't a guarantee that we'll see any legislation like this in the future.
Cincinnati, do you want to protect our parks or save our parks? Your vote will be the deciding factor on November 3rd. To make a more informed decision this election day, please visit voteno on22.wix.com/saveourparks or voteyeson22.com.
Hello and welcome, Xavier Nation, to the Xavier Sports Report. I'm Cameron Stansberry, coming to you live. We got a lot of information to cover, so let's get straight to the action. This past Saturday, the Xavier men's soccer team came up with a much-needed victory in Big East play here at home when sophomore Matt Veskinza delivered a strike in the 95th minute of action to clinch a 1-0 victory over the Marquette Golden Eagles in overtime. We got a clip of that, and here it is.
So some implications here for the Musketeers if they're unable to score the victory. Here's Veskinza trying to change it. Veskinza behind defenders. Veskinza in, crossing, goal! Musketeers will take it in overtime, 1-0. Matt Veskinza, the Musketeers' second leading goal scorer for the season, had not scored in the last 5, and he scores the winner here tonight.
Don't forget the name Veskinza anytime soon, Musketeer fans, as he was a repeat offender, burying his second consecutive game-winning goal Wednesday night with 1:15 remaining on the game clock against the top-ranked and previously unbeaten Creighton Blue Jays. It was a big-time play by a big-time player. This victory was arguably the best in program history and marked 3 straight for the team heading into senior night here at home tomorrow against Seton Hall. Everybody make sure to come out and support the men's soccer squad, as 6 young men will be honored for 4 years of hard work and dedication to the program. This past Sunday marks senior day for the women's soccer team, bidding farewell to 6 seniors in style by putting on arguably the most convincing Big East win this season, topping Creighton 3-0 here at home. Let's roll some highlights from that victory.
Here's Dewey forward for Kennedy Carlson. Carlson behind Rickles. Rickles touched it and it'll roll in. Musketeers will take a 1-0 lead. Kennedy Carlson on the service from Samantha Dewey, I believe. Dixon up top for Grove. Strike will be goal. Thought it was going to go over the crossbar and it sinks in. Just drifts in the left corner and Skylar Grove has a tally for the Musketeers, her second. Ball forward, Growth in, behind Roll. Scott out. Touched in, goal for the Musketeers.
The team has a chance to end the year with their second winning season in the past 10 years this Friday night as they travel to Indianapolis to take on the Butler Bulldogs in their final game of the year. The Xavier men's and women's golf teams both finished out their fall seasons this past week, with the women finishing at the Palmetto Intercollegiate in Kiowa Island, South Carolina, and the men at the Groove Intercollegiate in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The men's team finished 11th and the women 14th in their respective tournaments. We wish both teams best of luck as they prepare to take action again in mid-February to kick off their spring seasons. Tomorrow, Xavier Cross Country will host the Big East Championship meet taking place in Mason at 11 a.m. The meet will be broadcast live on the Big East Digital Network. If you can't get to Mason, make sure to tune in. In professional sporting news, the Cleveland Cavaliers kicked off their NBA season this past Tuesday with a heartbreaking loss on the road to the Chicago Bulls. All-star forward LeBron James was rejected by Chicago big man Paul Gasol in the final seconds as he attempted the game-tying layup. Well, you know the old saying, there's always next year, Cleveland fans. The Cincinnati Bengals attempt to make franchise history as they go for 7-0 against arch rival Pittsburgh. Being an expert myself, I believe they get it done, even with Pittsburgh's Ben Roethlisberger coming back from injury. Final score, 28-17, Cincinnati. Well, for everybody here at Xavier News, I'm Cameron Stansberry. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a very spooky Halloween, and let's go X.